In this episode of the JSP show, you're going to learn a little trick for custom vignettes in Photoshop. Hey guys, what's up? It's Johnny here and welcome to another episode of the JSP show. And as always, I'm super pumped to give you guys another new post-processing tip. Today we're talking about Photoshop, we're talking about finishing moves, and we're talking about vignetting. Hail to the year! I love vignettes. They finish an image, they draw your eye in, and I think they're a must for landscape photography. And man, there's so many uses for a vignette, I'm sure, with portrait and other genres as well, but I love them on my landscape shots. All right, so why are we doing this in Photoshop? Now, you could do this in Camera Raw before you got in. There is a vignette tool there. I'm going to show you a tip for getting back to Camera Raw if you've got Adobe Photoshop CC. But most of the time I like to add my vignette at the end. It's usually after I've done my lens correction and things like that. So often with a lens correction, you know, if there's any vignetting that's being caused by the lens, that will be removed. And after I've done all the rest of my adjustments, I like to add the vignette as one of my final steps. It's pretty close to my finishing move except exporting. So anyway, that's why if you're a Photoshop user, I recommend you can do it in Camera Raw, but I usually wait till a bit later to the end. And if you don't have Adobe Photoshop CC, you can't get back to Camera Raw, of course. So anyway, let's get this done. All right, first thing I'm going to do is Command J or Control J is going to duplicate the layer. Photoshop is a destructive editor, and I like to make sure I can always roll things back. Next thing I'm going to do is grab the circular, actually it's called the elliptical marquee tool, but I'm going to call it the circular marquee tool. And I'm going to start up in this corner here, and I'm going to drag down, when I get my stuff happening, I'm going to drag my circle out roughly how I think the vignette I would want. It's okay if it's not even. You can just grab it and move it around till it's in the center like that. I've got my guides turned on there for centering it, so that makes it nice and easy. But don't worry, we can adjust that later, okay? The next step is to hit the refine edge, guys. And what we're going to do, we're going to feather it. We want to see a nice feathered edge there. And you'll find we're going to crank this up to the wazoo. Something with my vignettes, I like them subtle, so they're not overpowering, not over the top. You may like yours a bit different, but I like mine nice and feathered out, like even as far as this, 500 pixels. So I'm going to hit OK. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the little yin-yang signal here, and I'm going to bring up brightness and contrast. And because we have got a selection, it's going to create a mask of that selection. But what we need to do is invert that mask, because if I don't invert the mask, you'll see what's happening. It's affecting the inside, which we don't want. We want to affect the outside of the mask. So I'm going to hit Command-I on the Mac. See, I've got my mask highlighted here. I'm going to hit Command-I on the Mac, or I think it's Control-I on a Windows. It's going to invert the mask, and you can see what's happened. The whites turn black and the blacks turn white on the mask. And now, if I make my adjustment, it's going to affect the outside of this, the outside of the mask here, of our selection that we had earlier. So I think something like that. Now, don't stress too much. We can always go back and adjust this. Now, I feel like I have made the circle, and let's turn that on and off. So that's before, that's after. One thing, I think it is a little dark, okay, so we can go back and adjust that. But before I do that, I think I've made my initial selection a little bit too small. And that's fine. So I'm going to hit Command-T, or if you go up to Edit Free Transform is the other thing you can do, or Control-T if you're on Windows, and that's going to allow me, you can see what I can do. I can adjust the edges of the vignette now. So say I wanted to make, and I want to bring these edges out just a touch here. I just want to bring them out because I feel like I made the initial selection a little bit too small, and you can see I've got full control over this. I can move everything around. That's looking a lot nicer there. Let me see. I just want to pull it off those rocks a little bit there. Yeah, that's looking good. I'm going to hit Enter now. And now let's do before and after. Before, after, before, after. Now, I could go in and just adjust the brightness, or if I wanted to lessen the effect, I could always just lower my opacity. I think I'm just going to take that back just a touch now. Still before, after, before, after. So there you go. A nice simple tip there for adding a vignette as one of your finishing moves in Photoshop. All right, so we'll turn that layer off there, and then I'm going to click on the layer I want to add. I'm going to go down here to Filter, Camera Raw Filter. I'm going to click on that. It's going to open Camera Raw here. All right, now the next thing I want to do is jump over to the Effects tab, and you can see down the bottom we have our post-crop vignetting, and I can just add a little vignette there, play with that midpoint so it pulls it in a bit. And I always like to add a tiny little bit of feather there. And that's looking pretty good. And I can just hit OK. And it's going to add that effect. So there you go. So this is the one I created in Photoshop. And this is the vignette I created in Camera Raw. Probably could have made it a little bit stronger there, but you get the idea. So if you jump up to Filter, Camera Raw, you can jump back into the Camera Raw settings. So that's it for this week, guys. Don't forget to check out my free post-processing course. There it is. Jump on it. Play around with your vignettes. Man, I love vignetting. I vignette just about every image I create. It just adds depth and really pulls your focus into the center there. Helps the viewer focus in on the main subject of the image. That's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care. This is Johnny out. Peace.